and for the chance for me to learn something of her life and personality. This, if I may say, gracious, kind, strong and positive lady made a great impression clearly on all who had the good fortune to cross her path. And we will shortly hear from family friend Colonel Godfrey Tillman. But first, it's my privilege to present Nicky's tribute to her aunt, and these then are her words. Good afternoon. Colin, our celebrant, has graciously offered to read this eulogy, as I know I would just cry, and you would not be able to understand a single word. I am Nicky Alexander Clutho, a niece of Pat Dowding. My mother, Pauline, was one of Ken Dowding's sisters. Pat was born in Plymouth and was the eldest child. I remember her talking fondly of her grandmother, and I am wearing her grandmother's locket, which Pat gave to me in December. As far as I know, Pat's childhood was happy. Pat met my uncle, Ken Dowding, when they both worked for a home electrical retailer in Bristol. Pat would need to stay late to finish up the bank deposit, and by the time she finished, she often missed her bus home. Ken started to drive her home, and the rest is history. I remember Auntie Pat saying that one day Ken asked Pat's mum what would make her happy. Pat's mum responded, "Marrying my daughter." The wedding was scheduled very shortly after, and I believe Kian's dad was in attendance. Today would have been their 60th wedding anniversary. Ken and Pat decided to make their way in the world by working abroad. They spent time in Ghana, Africa, and in the Middle East. While Ken was working, Pat spent her time by knitting, crocheting, or doing needlepoint. My cousin Simon still has an Aran jumper she knitted for him. I have her needlepoint tapestries, which are on my home walls. Pat was also a mother hen to the children of the expat families in the Middle East. They would come to Pat and Ken's home after school, and she would teach them the workings of a home. She loved children. I remember that Ken and Pat always seemed to be on a cruise, or preparing for one. Their favourite cruise line was the P&O, and the Oriana was their favourite ship. They went so many times, they got to dine with the captain. I do know my aunt's favourite itinerary was the Norwegian fjords. Boy, did my Auntie Pat have a memory. I was talking to her one day about a month ago on the phone, and I mentioned one of the tapestries she'd done was now hanging in our bedroom, the one with the orchids. "With the teal-coloured centres," she replied. "I think I did that one in 1975. And with that memory came her natural curiosity and concern about so many people who were in her life. She would always check in with Kian and Lindsay about their children, and also Martin about his children and grandchildren. And she would remember their children and grandchildren's names. And they are not the only ones she kept track of. As their life went on, their health began to deteriorate, and they both eventually ended up living in Gracewell of Bath. The staff at Gracewell have been wonderful in taking care of both my aunt and uncle, and I want to give them my thanks. One of the things that will always stay with me about my aunt is the saying, "You always want to leave something for next time." When you spent time with her and you had a full day of doing fun things, and maybe one more fun thing would make the day complete, she would stop and say, "You always want to leave something for next time." So how will I remember my aunt? She never complained and always looked on the bright side of life. She was gentle and kind, but still strong and stoic. I will remember the twinkle that came to her eyes when good things were coming her way. A small story to end this eulogy. My dad and my aunt shared a love of fruit, especially strawberries. When my aunt and uncle came to visit my parents in the summer in Oregon, my dad would go to the berry farms and come back with a pallet of strawberries. He would wash them, and the two of them would sit on the back deck and feast on berries. I would like to think the two of them are up in heaven feasting on berries now. As you all know, Pat struggled with swallowing of many years of having cancer. Well, now up in heaven, with my dad, she can swallow all the berries she wants. Thank you, Nicky. And I'm pleased now to invite Colonel Tilney to offer his